It is December 2018 and we are getting prepared to browse the web in 2019 with our FreeDOS 4 megabytes of RAM, 500 megabytes of hard disk, slow processor, FreeDOS machine that we created in one of my earlier videos. So if you are wondering what FreeDOS is or how to use it, please feel free to take a look into my channel. If you have tried to install networking support in the old DOS or even in Windows 3.11, the Windows for work groups, the first network version of Windows, then you will probably remember that it could have been kind of painful to get internet set up, to get networking to work with the TCP/IP protocol. Well, and those times changed with FreeDOS. The FreeDOS developers have a very nice way and a very easy way to install networking support in their operating system. And just in case you want to know more about the history of networking in DOS or networking support in FreeDOS, then let's take a look into my video description, where I will post some links to the articles of the FreeDOS documentation, which talks more in depth about all that kind of stuff. So let's use our FreeDOS machine, go to fdimples, which is our package manager. We already have the FreeDOS CD inserted into our virtual CD-ROM drive, so we can now access all the software that is available on the CD, and we are going to use the up and down arrow keys to navigate through this. And what I want to install is Dillo, a graphical web browser, FDNet, which is basic networking support, and that is the package that also allows us to actually use networking in our FreeDOS machine. What I also want to use is Gopher, which is a text-based Gopher browser. That's an early 90s web alternative in that we're gonna take a look into later. I want to use Ping, and I would like to have wget, which actually is already installed. Well, I guess that's an accident, but if you do this with your FreeDOS machine, please just make sure that you got an X right to wget, which is something that you might be familiar with if you are a Linux user. Let's click OK and just wait for the programs to be installed and talk a little bit about what to expect from browsing the web with a 4 megabytes machine. And obviously we kind of have to lower our expectations a little bit if we compare it to browse the web with a modern machine. Since, well, nowadays, if you go to a website like YouTube or Netflix and you want to stream a video, then that will obviously take up more than 4 megabytes of RAM. A modern browser will probably take up about 1 gigabyte of RAM if you watch say a YouTube video or stream something on Netflix. So obviously that's something that we can't do, and there's even more limitations to come. For example, our graphical web browser in FreeDOS will not have any plugins installed, and it will also come without SSL support, which is an encryption for our connection. So I would rather not use home banking with this, and probably without SSL your bank won't even let you use home banking on a FreeDOS web browser. So those are things that we can do. But if you watch this video closely, you might be surprised in a very positive way what we are still able to do with our FreeDOS machine in the internet. So let's reboot in order to get our networking support activated. our machine will now reboot, and when we reboot, we will already have networking support. Let's take a look at our virtual machine settings as long as it does that. Well, currently I have attached my network to a network address translation, which means that my host machine basically acts as a router for my FreeDOS machine, and that gives us kind of an extra layer of security, since the ports of our FreeDOS machine are not opened to the public network or to the network of our host machine. So since it doesn't reboot, I think I'm just gonna power it off and start it again and see if networking works right now. Since the FreeDOS CD is installed, we obviously have to choose to boot from our system hard disk and let it boot up. And now I'm really excited to see if networking support is enabled, and as we can see it is. It already shows us our IP address, which is an internal IP address, and the gateway address is the address of our host machine. So let's run a ping, and we're gonna ping my favorite DNS server 1.1.1.1, and well, yes, we received a response pretty fast, so that means that we are connected to the web and we can start browsing the web right now. The first thing that I want to show you is our graphical web browser Dillo. Let's do a directory listing, and now we see that in our C drive there's already a folder called Dillo. So let's cd into Dillo, do another directory listing again, and here's no dillo.exe, so I guess we have to look into the binaries folder, do another directory listing, and here's our dillo.exe. So let's open this up, and here's something comes up, a graphical interface. So we see that now something graphical is loading. That's our Dillo browser, and this is how browsers looked like a long time ago. We don't have any type of tab browsing, we don't have any type of multitasking. That's just something that we shouldn't be expecting from DOS at all. But let's see if we are able to go to a website, and I would like to go to duckduckgo.com, a nice search engine that has a big focus on privacy, and let's see if it opens. And well, in order to save you some time, I'll tell you something, it will not. This website will not open. Seemingly Dillo doesn't like DuckDuckGo, but it does work with Google. So let's go on google.com and wait a bit until it loads. And here we go. Here's Google. It looks a bit different than what you are used to, probably. We can use the mouse to navigate through this, which is a pretty awesome feature, seeing that we are in a DOS machine. And now we are in Google. Let's put a pretty easy equation into this and see if it will solve it. It is horrendous. Whenever I'm making a video, I'm making one typo after another. So let's see if it knows what 3 plus 3 is. Usually Google will show you a calculator right underneath the search field that would give us a result to what we just asked. As you can see, Opening a web page takes a little longer than you are used to probably, and that's not because my internet is slow. I've got a 50 megabits connection, so that's probably not it. And we can see that Google is also not guilty of loading slow. It generated the results in 0.34 seconds, so it's not Google's fault at all. We just have a slow machine. And Google also doesn't show us the result of the equation. It rather forwards us to Wikipedia, and let's see if Wikipedia likes to load. And now our browser becomes very slow and very unwilling to react as long as it is trying to load a website. And well, it doesn't seem to work. But don't be too afraid right now. I promise you that we will use Wikipedia today, but we have to get closer to this step by step. So with graphical web browsing, I've managed to find a website that loads up very nicely in this browser, and that's the private website of a IT guy from Poland. And luckily, he has all the stuff on his website in a free license, and I wouldn't get into much trouble for copyright issues if I open up this website. And he also programmed this website in a way that is very friendly for using an old browser. So this website loaded pretty fast. Well, it's pretty much just a text website, and that is something that will almost always work with this type of browser. Now, what this guy did is he took some photos of retro machines in a very beautiful style, and then he has put that out on the web, and that's something I would like to show you. It's currently already loading. I already clicked on the link beauty shots of retro machines. Well, that's a pretty big website to load for our small machine. As you can see at the right top of my browser, this site comes with 40 images, and most of them are pretty big. And I think they wouldn't fit all into 4 megabytes of RAM. So this machine now has to be really smart to figure out how to load this website. The browser is not responding very well at the moment, so if I wanted to stop it from loading, I think that's a hard thing to do. So, well, I guess what I'm willing to do right here is just to let a stopwatch run, speed up the video a little bit for you, and then go and have a cup of coffee. Have fun. Okay, so since it doesn't seem to load any more pictures right here, I think it's time to catch in and see if we can actually take a look at the website. And I mean, do you feel the same that I feel? Waiting 8 minutes for a website to load? I mean, maybe this reminds you of your first internet setup that you had with Netscape on Windows 3.11 or something like that, when you just had a modem connection and you had to wait forever if you wanted to open a website. And while you did that, you could just wait for your phone bill to get bigger and bigger with every second you were waiting. But anyways, now we can use our browser again. It became very nice. We can scroll through this website and look at the beautiful pictures that this guy from Poland has taken of his old retro computers. And I think this website also pretty nicely fits into the theme of this channel and using a FreeDOS machine, even though we are looking at Macintoshes and Ataris right now. And maybe, and just maybe, I think it's time to give up loading the extra 2 images, since that might just not gonna work. So I'm just gonna press stop right here and hope that the browser gets a little bit easier and more smooth to use, since it doesn't have this workload of loading an extra 2 images. And even though I'm complaining a lot about this whole waiting time and all that kind of stuff, it's still impressive that with 4 megabytes of RAM we can load all those pictures, since I'm very confident, without even calculating, that they won't fit into memory. As you can see, they are pretty good quality, and without even measuring their size and calculating, I'm pretty sure that they have more than 4 megabytes of size. So, okay, well, I guess we can wrap this section of graphically browsing the web up right here. We can see that we are still able to use the web with a FreeDOS machine, and that we are still able to look at pictures in what I think is a pretty good quality and a pretty decent resolution, even though we would have had to wait for almost 10 minutes for this website to load. But please hold on, there's more stuff to come. Let's close our Untitled Web Browser by just clicking the X at the right top corner of our screen in the FreeDOS machine. And now we are in a temporary directory in our FreeDOS system. Let's use the cd / command to go back to the root directory of our C drive and do a directory listing. What I want to show you now is the Gopher Protocol and our open source browser for that, which is called Gopher Rus. Let's cd into our Gopher Rus folder that was created back when we installed all the programs. Do a little directory listing, and here's a file called gopherus.exe, which is the one that we want to open. And here we are in our text-based Gopher Protocol browser. What you need to know right here is that you can use the arrow keys to navigate and the enter key to open a link, with the backspace key, you will go back to the page previously visited. Gopher offers a lot of stuff. You can look into news feeds. You can view private websites, even blogs, which are called PH logs, which is some kind of shortcut for, or some kind of acronym for blogs in Gopher. And what I'm going to do right here is to use Veronica, which is a Gopher search engine. And there's a term that I want to search for, which is called Gopherpedia. And that hopefully will bring us to a page that I promised you to show in this video, which is called Gopherpedia, a graphical or a Gopher interface to Wikipedia, which is the exact opposite of graphical. Let's look into that. Here's Gopherpedia. That is nothing else than an interface that translates Wikipedia to our program that we are having running here, to the protocol that the program Gopher Rust is using. So let's search Gopherpedia, and the query that I'm entering right here is Gopher. Since I want to explain to you what it actually is, we have a lot of suggestions right here, that those are all the results that Wikipedia returned to us, and what I want to choose is the Gopher Protocol. And now we see a text. That's the text that we would usually see. That's a text that we would see at Wikipedia when typing in exactly this search term. But the only thing that we don't have is pictures. To make a long story short, when talking about this text, the Gopher Protocol was basically an alternative to the nowadays well-known www kind of World Wide Web. And Gopher was invented in 1991 and it was a text-based way of browsing the internet. Let's search for something else. What I was using right here was the backspace key to go back. I've used that twice, and now I'm back at the Gopherpedia page, and I can search Gopherpedia again. And let's type in something else as an example. I'm gonna search for Richard Stallman, the founder of the GNU project, and also of the general public license that we are using currently, or that the program that we are using currently is licensed under. So as you can see, there's a lot of information available, or better to say, all of the information available that you have at Wikipedia. So the message behind this is that your stone old computer with operating system based on something that was invented in 1981 would still be able to replace an entire library, which I think Wikipedia represents. So isn't that amazing? Let's look into some other stuff that we can do with Gopher. There's not just Gopherpedia. We also have a nice documentation, help files, and how to search. We can download Gopher. Let's search for news in Veronica. Let's see if me find news. A hacker news mirror. News on rattle.net.nc. Newsbox. True News, a news map. Well, unfortunately, it comes with some MP4 files, which we are not able to play at this very moment with our machine. Okay, well, as you might can see, this browser Gopher allows us to do a lot of things with the internet, and that's just a very nice piece of technology that allows you to use a very, very old computer in a way that makes sense. And since it's not really interactive, I wouldn't even worry too much about security. There's no plugins that can take over your computer or something like that. And even though your connection is not encrypted, as long as you don't type in any type of sensible data, I think you're going to be good to go. And to summarize this whole video up a little bit, well, when talking about graphical browsing in FreeDOS, I guess we can say that this was the thing that was kind of limited, even though we managed to get some pictures over the internet to our computer. It has probably some limitations, especially if we look at interactive browsing. We can't really put information into the internet, which is also something that applies for the text-based browsing with Gopher. I wouldn't give anything of this a 5-star security rating, obviously, since in FreeDOS we always run on administrator or root privileges. There's just one user that always has full privileges in DOS, which means that any attack could hurt us, even though I guess that there's probably not a lot on our machine that you can actually attack, and there's no real hacker focusing on attacking FreeDOS anymore, since there are not many installations out there in the web that you can actually run an attack on, which gives us an extra layer of security in a very funny way. But to talk about text-based browsing with this nice program that uses the Gopher Protocol, I would say that we can do something really, really useful with our old computer, and I think that's amazing. So I guess we found something in FreeDOS that we can still use in 2019. So I guess we are ready for the future with our extremely old machine, with honestly some limitations. Well, the last thing to mention is that with the escape key we can go out of Gopher. We have to press it twice to confirm. We can shut down the machine. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good time, and God bless you.